family.
I've seen her before. She's been here.
Yeah. I'm just trying to see which family she goes with. Look at that. He's staring at something.
She seemed small. She's very well behaved.
You can have your marijuana on your dog.
She won't seen one of those
Oh yeah, well,
Hardly counts, I know.
Yeah, I don't either.
And the guy who had taken me in dating.
Not quite too young.
Well, yeah, she could be really upset. Not that we would know.
Not quite two.
Someone else
December.
you don't adopt a dog, there's a dog somewhere that's going to put something. You'll never even live.
Probably take care of that for our side. She just traded it out.
I might have.
Well, if you can place it in marketing, yeah.
So we can lower it down. How does it clean up after
I
itself?
saw that movie.
Was it a movie?
Yeah, and I can't think of the name.
Probably Vacation.
No, what was the movie, the Alfred movie with the dog lowered down in the basket?
Apartment.
Yeah, Rear View.
Rear
You
window.
said it. Rear Window. No, I meant
So we want to welcome, first of all, let's thank John and Carol. This is their son-in-law. So this is Detective David. He works for the St. Louis County Police Department with the St. Louis Regional Bomb and Arson Unit, along with his canine partner, Laika. The presentation today, which he'll get into, involves utilizing his canine partner during fire scene investigations. So let's give him a round of applause.
She's not going to like that. Can everybody hear me okay?
Yeah.
John and Carol were worried about whether or not that you'd be able to hear me because I have an inside voice and then I have my law enforcement voice, which is for outside or for large rooms. A little bit about me other than my name and who I work for. I started my career with the city of St. Louis in 1998 through 2001. I got tired of getting shot at, so I made the move to St. Louis County in 2001, and I worked in the mean streets of Afton for 6 years until 2007 when I got transferred into the bomb and arson unit. Reason why I went into that unit is because I really didn't want to do domestic stuff. I didn't want to do, the SWAT team, running and all that stuff. But I found an aspect of the job that in bomb and arson where, yes, I do deal with explosives. So I'm one of those people that, if red wire or blue wire, I'm only going to be wrong once, and then it's going to be a problem. But when it comes to doing arson investigation, that is the most interesting aspect of my job, because basically I have to build a puzzle in reverse. I have to go to a house that depends on the amount of damage that has been done, that I have to try to figure out exactly where the fire started and how the fire started. I can't tell you how many fires I've done over the years, but I've been in the unit for 15 years now, so it's been a wild ride, to say the least. When it comes to doing fire investigations, we use the canine, and we'll get into that. Everybody in here knows who Pavlov is, right? Pavlov's dog, the whole thing. I'm not exactly certain why he wanted to do a study on the digestive process of a dog. Because in the grand scheme of things, what goes in one end will come out the other. It's just a matter of how long it's going to take. But what happened when Pavlov and all of his comrades were the laboratory setting where they had, need the mic? Okay. Is this better? Turn it on.
Testing, 1, 2. Is that better? Okay, now I have to use my inside voice because I'm holding a microphone. So they wanted to study the digestive process of a canine, right? But in the laboratory setting where they were at, there was a bell on the door. So anytime they opened up that door, the bell would ring. Well, over time, the dog then began to associate the sound of that bell with, that guy's gonna feed me. So over time, the minute that dog heard that bell, the dog would start salivating. So it's a classical condition. It's you introduce a unconditioned stimulus or a neutral stimulus being the bell. You get the bell with food. Next thing you know, dog hears the bell, dog gonna want to eat. It's the same principle that we utilize when we train the canines with the ATF's accelerant detection program. Back in the mid-'80s, there were instruments that fire investigators could use. They were about the size of a large box of Kleenex. Sitting out at the top of it was a little sniffer, and when they ran it over the fire debris, if it had gasoline in it, the thing would go off. Well, the problem with that is, everybody in this room is probably familiar with Owens Corning fiberglass insulation. Back in the mid-'80s, if you were to burn that, it would give off an odor consistent with gasoline. That would be a problem for a homeowner who, it had an electrical fire, but yet you take this thing over it and it comes back positive, or the machine tells you it's gasoline, and they send it to the lab and it comes back gasoline. Now you have to explain to your insurance company what's going on. So what they did in 1984, the ATF began a pilot programming using the dogs. For this slide presentation, it is a yellow Labrador. I've seen slide presentations where Nellie, the first dog, was a black Labrador. And that presentation I actually lost. So, during the program, it showed that the canines' noses were much better than the field detection instruments at the time, because the instruments couldn't tell the difference between stuff that burns in a house normally and stuff that burns that has had an ignitable liquid introduced upon it. So that's what we wanted to do with the canine, is to try to put, gasoline on a t-shirt and then just have a regular t-shirt. So you're teaching the dog the difference between the two. Blah, 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 noses work. As with anything that you do, like if you write a paper in college, you submit it to the teacher, have them take a look at it. With the training program that they did, they submitted to the American Academy of Forensic Sciences, and basically they evaluated and they thought that, yes, you have a good program, let's get to work on this. 1985, the ATF began the formal canine training program. In 1998, my department got our first accelerant detection canine through the ATF. She was a yellow Labrador named Wendy. Since 1998, we have had 5 accelerant detection canines: Wendy, Blaze, Chloe, Leia, and now Laika. Interesting thing about the dog being named Blaze. Yes, it's a fire term. But the reason why the dog's name was changed is the handler that preceded me in the program, when he got his, at that time was his second canine partner, the dog's name originally was the name of his ex-wife. The ATF normally does not allow you to change the dog's name, but they gave John a pass on that. So that's how the dog became Blaze. Type of dogs that the ATF uses, solely and specifically the Labrador Retriever. Doesn't matter black, yellow, chocolate. Doesn't matter boy dog, girl dog. They just use a Labrador Retriever because the breed is hardy, intelligent, and can readily adapt to changing environments. And they possess a non-assertive disposition, which is necessary for the work that we do. Basically, what we mean by non-assertive disposition. You have German Shepherds, Belgian Malinois that have a tendency when they go looking for what they're supposed to find, they will dig. That is a problem as an arson investigator. Why? Because I have nothing but debris to deal with. So if I'm searching along this back wall and she doesn't alert and she goes to this corner and she starts alerting and starts digging, where's she throwing my debris? Back here where she already looked and she didn't alert. So where do I take my sample from? So that's why we want a dog that's not going to do anything. What did you just say? Cute. So where do the dogs come from? The ATF gets the dogs from several different organizations. They get it from the Guide Dog Foundation of Smithtown. Guiding Eyes for the Blind. Very good programs. However, those dogs are, you don't want to see an eye dog that will chase a leaf or a bird or a rabbit. Because if you've got a family member that's waiting to cross the street and here's your guide dog and a leaf goes by, and the dog goes like that, it could be, here comes a car. Well, it's a bad example, but yeah. So they're a little bit too precocious for those two things. Puppies behind bars. Anybody tell me what you think that means? Puppies behind bars.
Training by inmates.
Yes, ma'am. Training by inmates. My first. Leia? Laika? No, Leia. Leia was puppies behind bars as well. My first two dogs, Chloe and Leia, were from this Puppies Behind Bars program. Regardless of what you think of somebody who's already broken a law and gone, now they're in an institution, as it were, these people take a lot of pride in what they do with training the dogs. This one is not a Puppies Behind Bars dog. And ironically, she is the only one of my canine partners that knows how to fetch. Because think about it, they're spending 23 hours a day in a jail, and they only get an hour outside for good behavior, and they really don't have the time and effort to train the dogs how to play fetch. But also with the Puppies Behind Bars program, they had puppy raisers or families that would come in, and they would take the dog for the weekend and get them out and socialize them, take them into stores so they meet people, go to parks so they meet other canines. So it's a really, really good program. Yeah. Again, they're a little too inquisitive for seeing eye dog work, the very trait that makes them excellent for accelerant detection. Agents and trainers from the ATF make a trip and evaluate the dogs, and a career change is made. So let's talk about the training. The dogs are trained in the ATF's facility in Front Royal, Virginia, which is about an hour outside of Washington, D.C. It's a 6-week course. For the handlers, the entire imprinting process and training of the handlers takes 12 weeks. So for 6 weeks, it's the dog with a trainer. And they start out with, gotta have training aids, right, Tom? They start out with a little sniffer tin like this. And basically what they do is they'll put a drop of gasoline in it, put the lid on it, and she has 2 commands. They're both in English, thankfully. One is seek, and the other one is show me. So what they'll do is they put a food pouch on their waist, tap on this, put it underneath the dog's nose, say seek, And once the dog has smelled it, or they see the dog's nose wriggle, or if they hear it inhale or exhale, they tell the dog, sit. Then they reward the dog with food. Seek, sit, food. Seek, sit, food. All day long. So once the dog got familiar with this, then we go introduce another liquid onto the sniffer tins, but we start using cans like this one. Why would we use a larger can? Anybody have any thoughts?
The scent won't be as strong.
It kind of sort of confines the scent a little bit, but remember what I'm trying to teach the dog to do. Trying to find the difference between stuff that burns in a fire scene normally and stuff that has had an ignitable liquid introduced upon it. When's the last time you went to Target and bought a bag of burned clothing? No. How about Lowe's to buy burned wood? Nope. So this is what I have to burn stuff in. My neighbors on either side of me know what I do for a living. Not a problem. The street I live on is pretty much a cut through, so it gets a lot of traffic. I've had the Baldwin Police Department call on me 3 times. Why? Because I'm burning clothing in my driveway. They think she and I are having a problem. By the way, that's my wife over here who's holding a leash on my dog for me. So yeah, so I've had the Baldwin Police call on me for doing training for my dog. But the reason why we use these cans is because I can't burn plastic in my driveway, nor can I, burn food product or put food out in the driveway because she'll just eat it. But we then put this quart-sized can into a gallon-sized can. The purpose of the dogs, and several people have asked about her size, a lot of what we do in fire investigation is done at the ground level. So it's very low. So as a result, I'm constantly down like this, telling the dog, seek, or pointing or getting her to go down low. That's the reason why they are using smaller framed Labradors, because it's a lot less wear and tear on her joints, knees, and things of that nature. But when we use this quart-sized can and we put it in a gallon-sized can, I want to make sure my dog's nose is going all the way down to where it's supposed to be. So these cans, I'm listening for that. I know she's putting her nose in as far as she can. But the other interesting thing is, this one especially, when she finds what she's looking for, and then she'll sit down. Or she'll throw this can. She'll just get her nose in it and she'll figure, whoop, flip the can upside down. So that's what we do with the cans, and I don't know how well you can see it in the photos here, but that's me and Laika, my now retired dog. And here's a bunch of the cans that we have set out in circles. Then we got, carpet, clothing, other kinds of things in the picture down at the bottom. So this is the only way my dog gets to eat, is by working. So if we don't have a fire scene to go to every single day, I'm burning stuff at home every single day. Or I'm putting stuff out in the field and hiding it and making her find it. They bring the handlers in around week 7. The first couple of days are canine CPR, canine first aid, things of that nature. The whole general process of walking backwards with a dog and not falling over, because I'm directing her, but I'm not really directing her. And it's just, yeah. So this being dog 3, I still had to go for 6 weeks. So it's fun. All of the dogs are imprinted on several different classifications of ignitable liquids. All are petroleum-based products. 50% evaporated gasoline, light, medium, and heavy petroleum distillates, naphthenic, paraffinic, and isoparaffinic products. On the market today, there are probably 350 different types of ignitable liquids out there. Everybody in here has heard of Kingsford odorless charcoal lighter fluid. Walmart also has an odorless charcoal lighter fluid. Same product? Nope. Depends on where they get it in the refining process. So, like, even with Kingsford, 1 week they could get a batch that's a medium petroleum distillate. The next week, if they get it down at the bottom of the barrel, it could be a light. It just all depends. So it doesn't matter who you get the stuff from. but I have to have any of my samples or any of my liquids that I have to train the dog with, I have to have that tested by my crime lab, so I know exactly what I'm training my dog on. Sound like a really fun job so far, right? As I said, she is a food reward dog, training several sessions a day, several times a day, and the dogs in the program average anywhere between 20 to 30,000 repetitions per year. So 20 to 30,000 times a year, I say seek, give her food, show me, give her more food. Currently, she's on 2 cups of food a day, and if she finds what she's looking for, a positive response, if she finds what she believes to be the odor of an ignitable liquid, is she sits down. And then she just waits for me to walk over and give her food. So far, like I said, interesting job. In addition to doing all of our investigation work that we have to do, either on the explosive side or the fire side of the house, I have to file monthly reports, which include the amount of food that she gets per day, the types of training that we did. So today we did some field searches earlier today, and then this actually will count as a people search. Did we do cans? Did we do clothing? You know, those sorts of things. The training materials I used. So if I do put clothing out, then I used fabric as a quote-unquote distractor. The dog's weight. Her maximum work weight, according to the ATF's veterinary staff, is 48 pounds. We can go 5% either way, but right now she's running at 48.2 pounds, so we're good to go. Every year we're required to recertify with the ATF's staff. This assures that the training is constant, the dogs are receiving proper diet, exercise, and care, and the team effectiveness is maintained in the event of a call-out. What that means is Laika and I are part of the ATF's national response team. If the ATF gets called to investigate a large-scale fire here locally, we will be the dog that will go assist them. Everybody remember a couple of years ago the Bogey Hills Country Club that burned in St. Charles? My retired canine and I went out there for that. Leia and I went to Indiana back in October of 22, right before she retired. So we get to go a lot of places for the ATF when it comes to doing the fire scene stuff. As far as the recertification, there's a guy in my unit who gives me a hard time because I've been to Ocean City, Maryland. Been to Salt Lake City, Utah. He's like, all these in Nashville, Tennessee, all these really nice cities. But Rob forgets that I've gone to Joliet, Illinois. I've been to Detroit, Michigan. I don't recommend going to Detroit, ever. Sorry if you're from Michigan. When we went to do our fire scene certification in Detroit, I drove past 3 homicides to get there. I'm not kidding. So, yeah. So Rob gives me a hard time for it, but Rob's not here, so he can't defend himself. And there we are. This is Laika, her DSN, her badge number. We graduated December 17th, 2022. Down at the bottom there, it has her date of birth as July 4th, 2021. She was born in Spain. And the reason why she was born in Spain is we all remember we had this little thing called COVID that happened. But that was a big problem for the ATF to acquire dogs, because breeders then just simply quit breeding. Because if we can't get these dogs to go to facilities and things of that nature to get their training or their general stuff, we can't do it. So that's how they outsourced it, and they got my dog from Spain. I do not believe, because of this is dog 3, I do not believe that my dog has even reached the age of 2 yet. So according to her passport, which is the only document that I have to go by, says July 4th, 2021, but I don't buy that. This is both of my retired dogs. Chloe, 7 years, 7 months, 16 days, 258 fire scene deployments. Retired canine Leia, 6 years, 10 months, 15 days on the job, 224 fire scene deployments. If you'll notice, Leia worked a little bit less than Chloe did. They did that for me. When we get the dogs from the ATF, we sign a piece of paper saying we'll work the dog for 5 years. I can retire June 30th, 2026. That's not 5 years for me to work a dog. So they retired Leia a year early for me. So I can kind of sort of fudge that issue and maybe work a dog for 4 years and get to keep it once I leave the program. So, but yeah, unfortunately I had to have Chloe put down because she couldn't feel her legs from mid-spine back, and that was 2022 that we had to put her down. And then Leia's still going. She just turned 9. So the ATF will not work the dogs past the age of 10. That's their retirement cutoff. So it's either 9 and retire or up to 10, and then they get to be a regular dog. They get to eat out of a bowl and all that sort of stuff. Like many of the things that we have in our toolbox as a fire investigator, she is just one of the tools that we have to utilize. Yes, I do use gloves. Yes, I have a shovel. Yes, I do take pictures. Yes, we use flashlights. Occasionally, we get to use handcuffs and put the habeas corpus on somebody. The thing about arson is one of the hardest crimes to prove because all of my evidence is virtually destroyed. So I picked a hard one, but it's enjoyable. The prosecuting attorney's office wants either a videotape or written confession or, a corroborating witness to put somebody there. Otherwise, I got nothing. So I picked one of the hardest crimes to solve. Good job, me. Like any tool, the accelerant detection canine has many uses. Structure fires, duh, that's kind of our bread and butter. Brush fires, we don't get a whole lot of those here. I'm going to skip vehicle fires up in the corner. Boat fires, never had one. Open field searches are quite possibly one of the best things that I love doing with this dog. Our instructors and the people that evaluate us with the ATF, they're kind of jerks when it comes to doing the field searches because we have to go into a 50 by 100 foot area. And it's, they get flags on the corners and they say, okay, go find it. You know the straws that you get from QT, the really small coffee stirring ones? They like to cut those down to about 1 inch. Dip it in diesel fuel and throw it out in the field. Go find it. Woo! So, I do hold the record with my chocolate Labrador, Leia, for the fastest find when we were in Boston, Massachusetts. I just picked the right corner to start from, and the guy said, go. 7 seconds later, I said, hot. And he goes, what? Hot? You're good? So 7 seconds for her to find it, and it was actually diesel fuel on the head of a dime. So, suspect searches, yes, because occasionally you'll have Mr. Friendly who wants to help you, but Mr. Friendly is actually Mr. Arsonist, and they'll come back to the scene. So like I said, she has 2 commands, right? Seek and show me. Her second command, show me, is supposed to be a more refined event. So if I have my food pouch on and a guy comes up and is just starting to talk to me, and typically it's usually either his pockets or knees or maybe his shoes. But if I'm having a conversation with the gentleman out of the corner of my eye, my dog goes right to his pocket, sits down, just give her a little bit of food. Good girl. Well, I do this with my hand instead of saying, show me. Put my hand out like that. If she puts her nose back on that guy's pocket and sits back down, give her a little bit of food. Sir, you want to come over and get him? Put him in cuffs, take him to jail, take his clothing, send it to the lab. And it's happened to me 3 times, not with this dog yet, but with my other 2. 3 times that I've had the dog alert to an individual that came up to be Mr. Helpful, and Mr. Helpful set the fire because his clothing came back positive for gasoline. Tool searches, only typically my tools, my shovels that I use within a fire scene. It's either before or after, once I make sure, because I don't want to cross-contaminate the next fire that I go to. I skip vehicle fires. Anybody tell me why? They all have fuel in them already. So they run on gas or diesel fuel, unless you want to get one of those hybrid things that take batteries. But I would never put my dog into a vehicle fire like that. Why? Because she goes into a fire scene exactly as you see her today. Nothing on her feet at all. Nothing covering her nose, anything like that. She goes into a fire scene just like she is sitting over there. With the exception of the billboard that she has that has her badge and all that stuff on her. That's only for display purposes whenever I come and do a talk like this. Because the dog's going to get hurt because there's nothing but exposed metal in there. That's problem number one. Problem number two is, depending upon where the firefighters attack the fire, if they go from the engine compartment and they're squirting the water towards the back of the car's run on gas. If there's any damage to the engine whatsoever, the gas lines, they're throwing that ignitable liquid now into the passenger compartment of the car. The other thing is, at least, I don't know on some of the newer vehicles, but everybody's got a float in their gas tank, right? Well, you access that underneath the back seat or in the trunk. They get down to that float, and usually if the fire department's throwing enough water in there to try to make your car a pool, they will hit the little disc that covers your gas tank and blow that thing off, and then they're just filling the gas tank back up and spreading that all around. So vehicle fires, typically I do not run my dog through, and that's the reason why. One, because they run on ignitable liquids, and number two, there's so much plastic inside cars these days that plastic is a petroleum-based product. It's entirely possible that the dog could be allergic on the plastic or some of the seat cushions padding. Evidence collection based on canine alerts. They go into either a quart-sized can like the small one I have or a gallon-sized lined paint can. The reason why we use lined cans instead of unlined cans, just durability. Because they can sit on a shelf longer. Because 9 times out of 10, it's fire debris, it's going to be wet. Those unlined cans have a tendency to rust, and you'll drop the debris out of them, even though we put them into a cardboard box. And our evidence custodian really doesn't like that. Not to mention the fact I have a 5-year statute of limitations on arson cases. So any debris that I have to take, I have to keep for 5 years, suspect or not. So, yeah. Sometimes we use nylon bags. That's perfect for suspect clothing. I do know of one fire investigator who took a size 14 shoe and got it into this can. Not exactly certain how you do that with a 14, because the crime lab prefers something that they call headspace in the can. So if I take fire debris, I usually don't go above this line. Why? Because that's going to settle, and then your vapor is going to come up to the top, and that's how they test it. They put a little charcoal strip inside the can, and then they put it on their handy-dandy little machine, and spits out a result 24 hours later. What she will not do, no, she's not going to conduct the investigation. She's not going to write the report. She's been in the room for half an hour now and really hadn't talked to anybody, except for barking at whatever happened back there. But she will not have to testify in court. That's one of my favorite photographs is the dog sitting there. The person who's going to have to testify in court is going to be me. So I'd have to sit and I'd have to talk about the whole methodology, about why we do what we do, how we train the dogs. Why do we do the food reward system? Well, a Labrador Retriever will eat its own body weight in food if you let it. But also, it's a quicker reward. I'm not saying that food reward is better than play reward. Please don't misunderstand me. I'm only familiar with the food reward aspect. But I will tell you that I can search a building this size faster with a food reward dog than I will with a non-food reward dog. Typically, arsons happen late at night or early in the morning, like 3, 4. At 3 o'clock in the morning, I'm tired. Dog's tired. So what makes more sense? Food? Or you want to take a dog that gets to play with the ball, and the only time it gets to play with the ball is when it smells an ignitable liquid? Dog's not going to want to give up that ball. It's going to want to keep it. So all you're doing is expending your energy, and you're expending the dog's energy because it wants to play with that ball. So is my way better? Not necessarily. I think it's just more efficient. benefits of having an accelerant detection canine. And we're almost to your fun part of the show. Samples taken using an accelerant detection canine have a higher probability of laboratory confirmation than samples taken just by my nose. It results in reduced personnel hours at the scene, less samples that you collect, reduced workload for lab personnel, and you get a faster turnaround time with the evidence that we have seized. Basically, it's work smarter, not harder, is what I like to say. Blah, 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 blah. Anybody have any questions? I kind of went through that very quickly because, like I said, this is dog 3. I've been giving this canine presentation for 14 years now, so I probably can do it without having the slideshow, but I'd rather have it because it's nice. Yes, ma'am, in the back.
So do you get to keep the dogs after they retire?
Yes, my wife and my children would have disowned me had I given back dog number 1. Not so much with dog number 2, she's kind of nuts. But yeah, no, we get to keep him. I mean, after 7 years of working with him, taking the dog with you everywhere you go, it only made sense to hang on to them. Yes?
Do you have to retrain it after they retire?
No, you just...
All of a sudden gets to eat all she wants.
All of a sudden, well, I mean, I still, with both of my retired canines, they got their same daily allotment of food. The only difference is you're eating out of a bowl instead out of my hand, because this is that dog's bowl for right now.
And the occasional treats.
And the occasional treats, yeah. My first dog, I will tell you that when she retired, her retirement dinner was steak and green beans. And we put it on the plate that we usually give for the kids and said, "You are special today." And I'm not kidding about this. This actually happened. I put the plate of food down, and she looked at the plate, looked at me, looked at the plate, looked up at me like, "Hey, where's the camera? This has got to be a joke." And she just like, I'm like, "Okay, it's okay, go ahead." She was looking at me the entire time until she got her face down to the plate. And of course, it was steak first, then green beans.
Do they use the same method of training for marijuana and dope and things like that?
The ATF is the only one that teaches the food reward method. So, I mean, I can't speak to how they train dogs to find narcotics. I would imagine it's much the same way. I do know that the ATF also, in addition to doing ignitable liquids or accelerants, the ATF also has a 12-week program for explosives. And they teach the dogs to find explosives. And the ATF's explosives canines are also food reward dogs. So, somebody, yes?
How do you control the 2 cups a day?
How do I, that's just what she gets. I mean,
Well, but do you put that aside in your pocket?
oh no, I mean, I have a container of food in the house and I just measure it out and put all of it in there at once. And then go through our training day. If I do 2 training sessions, then I usually give her a cup, and then we'll do another cup later. That's how it gets regulated. And if I go out of town and I'm not leaving the state, I usually take her with me. So we have a place down at the Lake of the Ozarks. So I just measure out, like if I'm going to be gone for a week, I get 7 days worth of food and measure it out and just take it with me.
But if you're on a job, if you're doing...
Oh, if I'm on, I mean, I have spare food in the car. So, I mean, I always have food with me no matter where I go, so I just have a 1-cup measuring cup and measure it out, put it in there, and if she eats it all, great. If not, well, then if there's food left over, I have to put that back in the cup and figure out, okay, you only ate half of it, so when I get home, I gotta give you another cup and a half of food. Anybody else? Yes?
So what about when you go on vacation and you don't take your dog? Who does the food with the dog?
I have a backup handler, Rob, the guy that gave me a hard time about, all the palatial places that I get to go. He is my backup handler. The only thing he can do is train the dog. He cannot deploy the canine into a fire scene because he's not been certified by the ATF to do that. So he can only do the basic stuff, and that's it. So, and that's actually only hasn't happened with this one yet. I'm a little afraid to because of her age. No, yeah, that's what happens. Anybody else? Yes?
Are there any other arson investigators in the metropolitan area?
Yes. In my unit, they merged my squad with the City of St. Louis's bomb squad in July of 2013. So from a fire scene aspect, we cover all of St. Louis City, all of St. Louis County where it's unincorporated. Actually, it can be unincorporated or incorporated. So like, I've been to Chesterfield to help them out with fires before. I've been to Monarch. I've been to, the only place I really don't go is Florissant or University City because they have their own fire investigators. But there are a total of 8 of us in the unit that are certified fire investigators. Yes?
Are all fires, like all house fires, investigated?
It actually depends on the circumstances or what the firemen find out when they get there. Is it a vacant structure? Are there utilities? So it all depends on what story they're told. We don't go to every one of them, thankfully. But I mean, you know, some people like to call us the easy button. Especially if you have a fire department that does not deal with or does not have a lot of fires, or if they don't have a certified fire investigator, because we all get taught fire investigation by the Missouri State Fire Marshal's Office. And typically, if you're a fire investigator, they want you to have arrest capabilities, arrest powers, because you know if it is a crime, you gotta put the habeas corpus on somebody. They prefer you to have arrest powers. So we cover a lot of ground, but again, it all depends on the nature of what the fire department sees when they get there. Now, naturally, if it's a second-story or 2-story building and they're up on the second floor, which is where the fire occurred, and it smells like gasoline in the bedroom. I don't know how many people keep gasoline in their bedroom, but I really don't. So yeah, that would be a reason to call us. So. Anybody else? Oh, way in the back. Jen.
Okay, important. When you're not working and she's at home, can she cuddle with you on the couch? Or does she gotta go in a cage?
Does she have to? If you didn't hear, she wanted to know when we're not at work, does she, and we're at home, does she get to cuddle with us on the couch or does she have to go in a cage? Short answer, yes, she could. However, she does not sit on the same couch that I do watch TV. She has her own love seat that she shares with her chocolate sibling, and that's the only piece of furniture she's allowed on. Now, when we're down at the lake, there is also a love seat that is for the dogs. So yes, she does get onto furniture, but it's just only those 2 pieces, and she's well aware of it. Now, I do have another co-worker who thought, oh, she's just so cute and lovely, and her foot is caught in her. That Jess decided one day, oh, you go ahead and put your foot back in there, you doofus. Jess decided one day to try to coax Laika up onto her lap while Jess was sitting at her desk. Yeah, she does that to Jess all the time now. She tried doing it to me the other day as I'm sitting in the front room watching TV. I was, ooh, not gonna happen. Not gonna happen. Well, why are you eating that? Yeah, she is hungry.
She will lay on my lap on the floor.
Yeah, she'll lay on Cindy's lap on the floor, but other than that, no. Yes, ma'am. That's a very good question.
Always a question.
What do we do with the dog if we have to fly? Well, short answer for that is she does not get a ticket. She goes in the plane with me. I've had to fly several times for recertification, most notably, more recently to, where did I go last year? Oh, no, that was Fort Worth, Texas. I drove there. So if we have to fly, I usually fly Southwest because they are very dog friendly. And I get a hold of the person at the gate and I get let in before everybody else. So I try to get the bulkhead seat so she has room to lay down. But for the most part, nope, she'll just get in there and both my other 2 dogs would just go to sleep. You wouldn't even know that they were there. We flew to, was it on the way there or on the way back? It was on the way back from Ocean City, Maryland. If you've ever been to Ocean City, Maryland, it's a very beautiful place, but in order to get to Ocean City by plane, you have to fly to Baltimore and then go down to the tarmac and get on one of those little puddle jumpers and take that to the Ocean City airport. So we get into Ocean City and we're now leaving. So we're on the plane, we got on the plane first. We get to Baltimore and we land, and it was Chloe, right? Chloe sits up on a seat, because she was on a seat curled up in between Cindy and I. She sits up, and there's a lady 2 rows ahead of us who goes, "There's a dog on here. When did she get here?" She'd been here the whole time. She was just sleeping. So yeah, no, it's I'm going to be very interested to fly with her. And actually, now that you've seen the photographs, I'm actually the only. I'll get you in 1 second. I'm the only person in the history of the ATS program that has had a dog of every color: black lab, chocolate lab, and now a yellow lab. So yeah, it was. I was told when I went in to tell me which dog I was getting, they said, "Congratulations, you've completed the set." Okay, yeah, I did. Yes, sir.
In what area of the metropolitan area are most of your calls?
He asked in what area are most of our calls. I would have to say North St. Louis County and North St. Louis City. That is the majority. And it's no big surprise that, there's a lot of vacant structures involved in both of those areas. This time of year actually gets to be our busy time of the year because it's starting to get cold out, and now we have people who are, can't say homeless anymore, the unhoused, because, I don't understand that, but anyway, they go into a structure that they know nobody is living in, that they can get into, and that's where they want to stay warm. They build a little fire inside to either cook what they're going to, try to eat, or just to stay warm, and they fall asleep, and the fire gets out of control. They wake up, they leave the house. Do I have an arson? No, not really. It was a warming fire. In essence, I had a negligent burning. But still, it's a vacant structure. There's no utilities there. We do have a fire, but I don't have a suspect. So again, one of the harder crimes to prove, but that's where we do spend a lot of our time, is North City and North St. Louis County. Anybody else? All right, I'm going to try to do this as simply as possible. I got some stuff that I can hide. I'll put a little bit up here in the front of the room, and I'll put something on the sides of the room just so everybody can, because I'm assuming you guys want to, you didn't come just to see me, you want to come to see the dog and watch the dog do what she does, right? All right. I'm going to have my wife take Laika out of the room. Yeah, I got plenty of food for her, but I use gloves. Anybody have any idea why I use gloves? So she doesn't smell my odor on that. No, I will not. I normally don't wear gloves when I'm training with her. Once I put everything out, we're good. Where'd they go? They're up here. So before I got here, out in the parking lot, remember I was talking about those little sniffer tins earlier? Yeah. So this got a little drop of a naphthenic, paraffinic product in it. Put that there. Put the pants on top of it, see if she'll find it there. Just take these, put that there. Oh, my knee just popped. We'll take this one. We'll put this right over here. See if she'll find that. She's actually not looking for specific like gasoline, diesel fuel, charcoal lighter fluid. She's just looking for something that she believes is the odor of an ignitable liquid that is a petroleum-based product. So every fire scene that I go to, I calibrate my dog. And by calibrate basically means that I put a drop of gasoline outside of the fire scene, take my dog over it. If she finds it, that's perfect because I know her nose is working. So my dog gets tested before I go into a fire scene and after. Because if I go through that fire scene and she does make an alert, then I can say that her nose is working. If I go through a fire scene and she does not make an alert, and obviously that would then for me be a negative fire scene,
even if it is an arson, because you can have a fire set, but not use an ignitable liquid. You can use ordinary combustible materials, which I do take my dog through negative fire scenes as well. Why would I do that? So she doesn't get the idea that every time she goes into a house, that she's going to eat. She's going to try, she'll try to trick you. And there's certain things that I look for, certain changes of behavior with the dog, be it her nose, be it her tail, be it her speed, that I'm looking for her to do. And if she kind of sort of goes through here and sits and goes, I'm going to try sitting right here. Uh-oh. Come on, dog, let's go. I'm not new at this. I'll open up that container and let you look and see if you can either see it and or smell it.
When you're calibrating her,
Yes.
why wouldn't her nose work?
You know, he asked when I'm calibrating her, why wouldn't her nose work? Dogs are fickle people. It's just, you know, we have bad days. Dogs have bad days. If she really doesn't want to do it, she won't. I mean, I had a guy who was in our class, the most recent one, who was from California, and he was getting his first canine partner. And you remember the picture that I showed you where they had all those cans in a big circle? We do something that's called our odor recognition test. Can everybody hear me okay?
I guess just in case. So all the cans that we use, it's for our odor recognition test. So they give us 40 cans to search. Now remember I said that there are 6 classes of ignitable liquids? So throughout these 40 cans, there are only 6 cans that have an ignitable liquid in the can. So the guy from California goes to do his odor recognition test. So basically he could pass. The dog wanted nothing to do with any of the cans. Just walk around the circle. Nope, not doing it. So, and he got, the dog that he got was Baxter. And Baxter was a big doofus. But Baxter just, you know, it was just one of those things. That day his dog said, I ain't working. We can go play, we can go run, but nope, not working. So that's why we do the calibration as part of it. You know, it is what it is. I mean, it's a dog. The dogs aren't perfect. If anybody tells you that their dog is 100% accurate in what they do, they're lying. My dog is not perfect, and occasionally I'll take a sample from an area, and guess what? It comes back negative from the crime lab. Uh-oh. What do I do then? Well, I'm really understanding now. I used to get worked up about it. What am I doing wrong? Did I take my sample from the wrong place? Well, no, not necessarily. The dog's nose is better than the $300,000 machine that tests it. I can't testify to that because that is my own opinion, but my dog's nose is better than this machine. That's problem number 1. Problem number 2, the machine has parameters. The chemist that evaluates those lab results, they have minimum parameters that they have to look at on the peaks and valleys of the sample that I seized. If there's not enough for them to definitively say, that's gasoline, they can't call it. Is it probable that it was there? Yeah. But unless the chemist can testify to it and show that that is an ignitable liquid, I have a negative sample. I don't really get hung up about it anymore. I know my dog did her job. She got fed. So, but a lot of it also has to do with my evaluation as an arson investigator. Am I putting her in the right area? Did I bring her to the right spot? So.
Now she's going to be really angry with me. What kid's got that food thing on? What trying to? Okay, I'm going to work. Let's go. See. Good girl. Good girl. Let's go this way. See. Over here. See. Yeah, it's a good girl. That's a good dog. Show. Where's it? Yeah, it's a go girl. Yeah. Sit. Sit. Go ahead. Go. See. Go. That's on the water.
No, that's about
Hey, here. Right here. See. Come see. Come see. All right. Y'all didn't see it, but her tail started wagging a whole lot different. And we're just gonna knock. So it just depends on the fire scene that we're dealing with, the scope of the damage.